Hey everybody, this is Jim from Song Tripping, and I want to continue my series of album reviews of the Grants Christmas albums. They were called A Very Merry Christmas. They came out between 1967 and 1974. We are up to volume 7, but let me backtrack and go back to the beginning and talk about the series up to that point. So here is number 1. It was unnumbered. And number 2. The first 4 volumes came out on Columbia Special Products, and volumes 3, 4, 5, and 6 were what I listened to growing up. So the first one we had in the family household was A Very Merry Christmas, Volume 3. And then Volume 4, we're still on the Columbia label for this. And then for Volume 5, Grants, for some reason, switched to RCA and issued A Very Merry Christmas Volume 5 and 6. And these I've already reviewed. And so that brings us to Volume 7. Now, in my record collecting career, I already had numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6 inherited from my family. And I'd say in the last 10 to 15 years, I started looking for the other volumes, and I did find pretty easily was able to score volumes 1 and 2. They're not too hard to find in the bins if you look carefully enough. But I've had a devil of a time finding volume 7 and 8. But the good news is I found it. Here's volume 7. I got this for $1 at Jupiter Records in Wilmington, Delaware, right outside Wilmington. And it's got this nice winter scene on the cover. Again, I really like this logo. We're still on RCA. Here's our roster of artists. And let me take you on a track-by-track review of A Very Merry Christmas Volume 7. I was really happy to find it. They actually had 2 copies in the store, and I don't think I'd ever seen it before. So, here's our rundown. Side 1 begins with Toyland by Perry Como. It's following the format of volumes 5 and 6. So Perry Como gets the first track on side 1, he gets the last track on side 2. This one's Toyland. It's a lovely instrumental intro, sweeping, swirling strings. And Perry does a really nice wistful cover, reminiscing over childhood, and you get the feeling like he's thinking about lost childhood. And that distant crooning soft voice of his is kind of a good fit for this song. The second track is O Come All Ye Faithful by Robert Shaw Chorale. It's a nice stately cover, heavy on the orchestra and the like earnest sounding choir. It's a little too earnest for my taste, but it does churn along with plenty of force. Third is, I would say, one of the better tracks on the album, and that is God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen with Julie Andrews. And here the strings and the harpsichord are featured. And you've got Julie's soprano comes in with a lot of reverb on it, maybe too much so. And then in the middle of the song, the harpsichord is featured in this little mini Baroque break between verses 1 and 2. It's a nice creative twist, good take on the song. And it's the kind of song that takes you out of where you're at and puts you in another place. So I liked it for that. Then we have What Child Is This with Ed Ames. I'll show you Ed here. Where is he? Where are you, Ed? He's over here, right? And this one, I've been liking the Ed Ames selections they've picked for volumes 5 and 6, but this one he does What Child Is This? It's a great song, the Greensleeves melody, but I'm not quite as impressed with his cover of this one as I was with the other songs they picked for the volumes 5 and 6. Sings it a little too deliberately, and it almost sounds like he's fighting the lyric, and there's lots of modulations that sound kind of forced to me. It's not awful, it's just not like a go-to cover for me. Then we have Hallelujah by Sir Thomas Beecham and his orchestra. This is a nice vigorous sample from Handel's epic work. Sounds pretty good. So the on side one of A Very Merry Christmas, Volume 7, I'm hearing a big contrast between what we were finding on Volume 6, which seemed to be a much quieter, sleepy album. Here we're much more awake and perky. The unfortunate thing is the pressing quality isn't very good, and I don't think it's that the album is really in horrible condition. It looks like it hasn't really been played that much. I don't think groove wear is the issue here. Maybe it is, but I don't quite see it. I think it's just a bad pressing. And again, it's on the Dynaflex, so we have this kind of going on with it. It's not the best quality vinyl. That's just what RCA was up to in the early 70s. They've come a long way down from those old Shaded Dog audiophile quality records. Moving on to side 2, we start with Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops with Winter Wonderland. The Boston Pops are always reliable. They sound great here. They don't disappoint. It's a nice, lovely arrangement of Winter Wonderland. And then one of the more interesting picks here is Charley Pride with Christmas in My Hometown. So it's one of the country songs. Where is he? He's over here. There's Charlie. Sorry about the light there. It's always interesting for me to hear on these compilations Christmas songs that like I'm not familiar with. And this is a song I don't know. It's a nice country ditty, and it perks along in a nice clip. It's a pretty description of the way your hometown looks and gets transformed by the holiday season. Then we have Morton Gould with an instrumental, Good King Wenceslas. It's another nice choice, something a little bit different. The arrangement is a little on the goofy side, but it's sprightly, it's fun. The sound quality isn't great. Again, I don't think it's groove wear. I think it's just poor pressing quality. It could be a bad transfer from the source tape. Then we go with Danny Davis and Jingling Brass. It's another brand new tune for me. It's based on Jingle Bells, but it's an instrumental take, and it's a pretty cheesy version, but like so many other tracks on Volume 7, it's up tempo and it skips along at a festive clip, and there's kind of weird amalgamation of instruments. You've got thumping bass, you've got banjo, you've got this brass, which sounds a little bit like Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass, and a little subtle trap kit keeping rhythm. But I like that it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a fun take on Jingle Bells. And then we close out the album with Perry Como, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. It's a light classic, and he starts with a little backstory. I'm not sure if this is just something they added or if it's really part of the song and people just leave it out. But then you break into the famous familiar melody. It's a witty take on the song, and Perry sounds like he's enjoying himself. So, final thoughts. Volume 7. It has some merits. I like how it's very festive. It's less sluggish than Volume 6 was. Remember Volume 6? Nice perky set of song choices. We get more artist variety too, which is welcome. So people like Charley Pride, Morton Gould, Danny Davis, Sir Thomas Beecham, we haven't seen them appearing on the RCA compilations. So this compilation does have a pulse, and it's refreshing for that reason. The negatives for me is the quality control is really going downhill here. It's not a great pressing. It's not an essential compilation for me, but I'll keep it in the collection because I've been on the hunt for this for a long, long time. So I'm glad to add it to the collection. And then we, whoever owned this before, by the way, they check marked their favorite songs, and they picked out. Let's see what they picked. Perry Como, Toyland. Julie Andrews, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. And then Arthur Fiedler, Winter Wonderland, and Charley Pride, Christmas in My Hometown. And I think I agree with those choices. Those are the highlights for me, too. Good taste, whoever owned this before me. So, that's the last Grant's Christmas album on RCA, but there's one more. Who did they go to for their label for the final compilation? Well, stay tuned for volume 8 in the next video. Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll see you next time.